Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Lees.
I'm Jonathan Pyre, and drum roll, please.
Welcome back. Meagan Duhamel on her yoga mat in her element. Meagan, it is one of our favorite days of the skating season. The Grand Prix assignments have been announced.
I know, and doesn't it feel so late?
It does feel late, yeah.
Like, I feel like they used to be like end of May, early June, and now it feels so late. I just thought that they were already announced and I missed it, to be honest.
So when you were competing, how soon, how far in advance did you know where everyone was going, or you knew where you were going, and like, are there rumors flying? What's happening?
It depended on like what level I was at. Once I became a world champion, I was like Eric and I and our team, we were selecting what events we went to because we had the first choice as the top seeded skaters. But I remember the year of the Olympics, the year of Pyeongchang, we finished 7th at Worlds, so we weren't even seeded. And I had no idea. I had no say. Like, we requested, and I remember Mike Slipchuk from Skate Canada, he was at the meetings because they were like live and in person. And I remember him calling Bruno, who was coaching us, and he said, you guys requested Skate Canada, but right now Alena wants to go to Skate Canada. Dylan and Lubov are going to be our seeded team because they had beat us at Worlds. And Vanessa and Morgan were going to Skate Canada, and so was Peng and Jin. So he was like, Skate Canada is going to be hard. Do you want to change your option? Cup of China is really easy. Would you like to go there? And we were like, no, we'll keep Skate Canada. It's one of our favorite events. And we ended up winning. But I remember like when that announcement came out and I was like, whoa, that field was so stacked. And because we weren't seeded, we had to be with 2 seeded teams. So it just made things harder. And that's what we're seeing with the dance assignments this year. Gabby and Guillaume aren't seeded. So everywhere they're going, those events are just a little bit harder because there's 2 seeded teams and Gabby and Guillaume, which makes 3 top teams.
Now, throughout your career, when you've gotten assigned to the more stacked events, did it help you prepare more? And how many times also did the event look stacked in July and things change by the time you get to the fall?
Yeah, often. Usually when we were in a stacked event, that was what brought out our best. Like, we skated really well under pressure. That's where we thrived. So when it wasn't as competitive, those were usually our worst skates. So, it's funny that every year Skate Canada was always really stacked. Skate Canada always, it's like they didn't care about like helping their own skaters. They just wanted to invite all the stars. So they would have like every event stacked. And I was like, why isn't Skate Canada selecting like lower ranked pairs? Why do they keep bringing in the top ones to compete against us? And then we would always go to our second event, which in the later years was Japan for 3 years or 4 years in a row. And it was always really weak. For some reason, somebody would withdraw, or like the way it all worked out, that it was just a weaker field and we always skated terribly. So it's really funny just kind of how that works. And you've got to compete against everybody eventually. So who cares if it's October or February? You'll be better in February because you competed head to head with somebody in October.
Meagan, I'm also intrigued by your timing. So you were saying you would have done like potentially Skate Canada, then had a little bit of a break, and then gone to NHK. So yeah, we see a couple of people with these assignments that are choosing to go back to back, and others that will have more space between. Did you have a preference?
Yeah, I never ever competed back to back, and it was always my fear that would be selected for me and I wouldn't know how to like handle it. We liked the spacing of Skate Canada and NHK. And the first time that we got NHK and Skate Canada, we won both, and then we won the Grand Prix final. And I remember going to the Grand Prix final that year in Barcelona, and Tamara Moscovina told me, I was so certain you'd skate terribly. You're so tired. Canada to Asia to Canada to Europe. I thought that you were going to be awful. And I was like, well, ha ha ha, like, here I am.
Amazing.
But it worked for us. It doesn't work for everybody. Our final year, we did Skate Canada and Skate America because the Grand Prix final was in Japan. So that was like what happened. But I mean, pickers can't be choosers. Unless you're the top seed, you're getting whatever you're given.
Now, does it upset you when we have an order every year and then some years they try to change it? Usually it was always—
And they do.
Yeah.
One time in 2009, I went to Cup of China and I believe it was first. it was really weird. Like, when is China ever first? And it was so early.
I feel like the order has been set for like the last almost 25 years, right? You have like Skate America, Skate Canada.
Yeah.
The third event used to be Nations Cup, then Cup
Yeah.
of China, then France,
Lalique, Trophy Lalique.
then Russia, then NHK. I don't like change, okay?
No, me neither. It throws me off too when everything's changed. And then I'm like, wait a second, it's supposed to be this competition. Why is it this one? It becomes very confusing.
When I remember that you were at Skate America in 2017, I feel like I was like hungover or missed that event somehow, because it feels like, wait, but that was the year that
It was last.
It was in Lake Placid, and it was right like Thanksgiving weekend.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
That was super weird. Yeah, I hated that.
Oh, I had a good time. But yeah, it was weird to change that time.
Because you were there, Alena was there.
Big Zhang beat us.
Yes.
I'll never forget. So he was skating with you, and they had the long program like of their life. They skated so well. And Eric and I skated pretty good. Like, it wasn't great. I fell in the quad and I did like a single toe, double toe in the combo. But Big Zhang and you beat us. And she was so excited after they got their scores in the kiss and cry, but her coach and her partner weren't celebrating with her. And when she got backstage, she came running to me for a hug.
Aww.
And like, I couldn't help it, but like be excited for her. But then I was like, this is weird. Like, you just beat me, but you're the person that like, you came to me to celebrate with me. And it was really special, actually. Like, I loved that event and I was so happy for her. And she was so happy. And it was just like this really beautiful moment. And that was my last Grand Prix. So that was a nice memory.
Wow. Did you go to the final that year? Yes.
Yeah,
right?
I did. It was in Japan.
Yeah. Okay. So you said it was your last Grand Prix. I remember you. Okay.
Well, I mean, like Grand Prix event.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the actual event. So Skate America in the pair discipline, Evelyn and Trent are going. Ryu and Ruichi, Boykova and Kozlovsky, Popelova and Pleshkov, Tarasa Morozov. I feel like they always go to Skate America. Alexa Knierman, Brandon Frazier, Chelsea Liu and Danny O'Shea got a spot. And there's a TBD spot, which everyone is kind of wondering what is going on. We did see Alena and TJ skating together. Kellang and Johnson aren't on the list. What do you make of that field?
Well, first, like, that announcement kind of like shows to me, or what I take away from it, is that Alena and TJ don't want to do the Grand Prix, because why wouldn't you give the Olympic champion like the Grand Prix right away? So that's like kind of my takeaway. I saw a video of Danny and Chelsea skating today on Instagram, and they looked really nice. She was a really nice, beautiful skater when she skated with Brian. What's interesting with the pairs selections this year is that every event you either have 2 top Russians or a Chinese and a top Russian, or for Cup of China, 2 Chinese. So to me, each event, people are only, unless you're one of those Russians or Chinese teams, you're fighting for a bronze medal. It doesn't matter what event you're going to on the circuit. Those Russians and Chinese are taking those 1 and 2 spots, bearing any like disaster or injury. Everybody else.
Tarasova and Morozov, to be fair, have often had those disastrous moments.
They have.
But
So if ever there was a silver up for grabs, it could be Skate America.
I mean,
Yeah, the 2 events that they're at. But it's just so, it's going to be so unlikely. Like, I just see like people sneaking in for a bronze, but the gold and silver in every event may be interchangeable, but probably pretty much those top 2 teams.
It's actually a lot of pressure, even for Alexa and Brandon. When you look at the bronze medal, I mean, the Japanese team is very solid. Evelyn and Trent will likely consistently. There's a Russian team, you know, Popelova and Pleshkov. So that's an interesting event there.
Yeah, that like, there's not really an easy pair event. Like, there's maybe 1 or 2 that are a little bit easier, but the mid pack, like the teams that are just below the Russian teams and just below the Chinese teams, they're so good.
Yeah.
They're so good. So the mid pack is just, there's so much depth in that area. And for the TBD, like, I saw my phone's charging, so I had to sit here and it's starting to slant. I just finished a Zoom workout. We saw that Kellang and Johnson don't have an event. So are they going to be considered for that TBD? Is it going to be a new team? Like, we haven't really heard much from that camp. So I'm curious about what's going on with that.
We never did wind up finding out why they withdrew from Worlds. And
yeah, there was like no reason ever given.
And they were here this summer getting a program in Montclair from Benoit Richaud. They got a program choreographed. And I believe they were skating, being monitored recently. So I
see clips sometimes of them, like just through Instagram and stuff like that. And such a great, talented team. And I mean, they were really like making strides with the judges internationally. Coming third in the long at 4 continents. The last time there was a 4 continents, I don't even remember the year, but the last time there was a 4 continents, they came third in the long. So it would be such a shame to see them kind of like drop off the radar. But I guess like that TBD could be for Nathan Bartholomew and his new partner. It could be for Spencer and Emily. I don't know. There's so many options. Or for Aliona and TJ, should they really be planning to do the Grand Prix?
No, and they do have a couple of events. A lot of teams are going to do Cranberry. In the past, the pair event has always been at Skate Detroit. I think there's a lot, and then obviously Champs Camp. But usually those smaller competitions are the ones that really help determine it. I know that a lot of teams are going to Cranberry this year because it's going to have ISU points because there are enough international teams that are going to compete. So that'll be interesting to see if that. Like
what international teams are going to Cranberry to compete?
I don't know about pair teams, but I do know that the international ladies who are going, and I know that Alexa and Brandon are going to be at Cranberry.
So the panel, like the judges panel, is going to be an international panel as well. Okay.
So.
Well, I mean, because of the lack of competition last year, like you can kind of make up for it this summer and get a little bit more experience and feedback earlier in the season. It won't hurt anybody.
Okay, so Skate Canada, we have Vanessa and Eric. Very curious to see this. Lori Ann and Thierry. Is it Terry? Thierry?
Thierry.
Thierry. Okay. So Lori Ann and Thierry. Kirsten and Michael. Sui and Han. Minerva, Fabienne Hayes, and Nolan Seeger. Zoe Jones and Christopher Boyati. Pavlyuchenko and Hoydikin. And Ashley Kane and Tim Leduc. So that's another one where the mid-pack, they're all really tight in there. That is
with an event like this, we can't forget like Daria and Dennis. They could have medaled at Worlds this year too. I mean, they may be Russia's 4th place team, but they are amongst the top teams in the world. So you have Shui and Han and Daria and Dennis that I don't see any of those teams beating. And then it's like which one of the Canadian teams comes out on top. How close will Kane and Leduc be, or will they surpass both of them? Like there's a little bit of leeway there with those 3 teams, from 3rd, 4th, and who I would imagine will be 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And then there's the group of teams that will be 6, 7, 8.
I could see a Canadian team being 2nd, but that's tough. That's a tough field. Yeah.
We have to remember, like when Daria and Dennis do a clean short, they get over 76 points.
Well, and they have those side-by-side triple flips, and they do get some points, even though, I mean, they hopefully will have some better material this year, but I'm sure they're coming out like guns blazing this season to try to snag the 3rd spot in Russia. But I imagine they have an uphill battle ahead.
And I mean, they just don't really have like that many weaknesses to their skating, apart from maybe like some personality sometimes. But I think that, if they consistently get 75, 76, 77 in that short program.
I find her pretty.
That's going to be hard to get for a Canadian team this year. What were you going to say, Jonathan?
Oh, I find her pretty exceptional. Like she has like a fierceness to her and like some really fun extension, and she kind of hits some like
She kind of like reminds me of like some weird hybrid that includes Lubov. Like just a little bit.
With the free leg, especially.
Yeah, but a little bit more powerful and explosive. Okay. But like this, like, I don't know, there's something about her skating and her personality and her posture that make me think of Lubov. Yeah. So I see like a Canadian team being on the podium, not both of them. It'll come down to one or the other. And I think Shui and Han are going to show up at the Grand Prix. I wouldn't count on them to scratch. They need to be there. They need to. They need the experience, they need the exposure, because they need to be at their best in Beijing if they even want to be on the podium, let alone the gold.
Well, they do have to go back to back. which is rough, but they do go back to home. So they're at Cup of China the next week against Peng and Jin, Sui and Han, Anika Hook, and Robert Kunkel. No, I'm totally butchered that. Della Monica and Goris, Goulardi and Ambrosini, Artemeva and Nazarshev, and Pepelova and Pleshkov. So that's another field that's where people likely will be going for the bronze medal. That's a tough one.
Yeah, there's a lot of them in there. This to me is the weaker of the Grand Prix. China, we have Shui and Han, we have Peng and Jin, and then the mid pack is a little bit less experienced with some of the junior teams, and then you have the experience with the Italian teams, who I would probably bank on as the bronze medalists at an event like this.
Although I have to tell you, the Italian team really struggled this season. Like they sort of like, in my opinion, it just is like a fan on the outside, I sort of clustered these groups, like you're talking about mid-pack, and I almost wonder if they took themselves out of the mid part of that pack.
But they had the good long at Worlds.
Yeah. Okay.
Was it Worlds that they had a good long at one event this year? I think it was Worlds.
I just keep recalling some like pretty like huge errors, like times, like, and they had a huge twist issue when they were like in The Hague or something like that. Like, yeah, they just made me a little bit more nervous. I have to be totally honest, you guys. I'm not remembering who Pepelova and Pleshkov are.
They were on the junior circuit 2 years ago, I believe.
Okay. Because I mean, they've given them 2 assignments, so they're obviously believing in them, but I have
to they were like the top team, or like amongst the top teams on the junior circuit 2 years ago. And it is weird because there was no junior circuit last year, so we kind of like forget who.
Yeah, we missed an
era.
Okay.
One thing to remember with Shui and Han doing back-to-back events, Skate Canada's on the West Coast. It's in Vancouver. I'm not going to say a 9-hour flight to Beijing is easy, but 9 hours is a lot different than the 13 hours that they would travel to get to Toronto.
Yeah.
Or to like have to do another flight and another flight to go to a smaller town in Canada. It's a direct flight. It's pretty easy, probably for them. So I don't think that back-to-back events in North America and Asia are going to be that difficult for them.
Do you think they want to go to Canada to work with Lori Nickel in person?
Maybe.
And then they also have some time before the final, because they have the 3 weeks, there's the week break, and then the final. So they have some time to come down after the 2 events.
They've often been to Skate Canada, Shui and Han, though. Like, I have so many photos on a podium at Skate Canada with them. So I think that they often choose it. I don't know if they like to travel to Canada or they feel that they really like that event, but they are often there. So
I remember them at NHK a lot. I always thought they
the last few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe since the Olympics, but they also don't do the Grand Prix that often. So maybe I'm like dating myself back to the cowboy years. That's when they did Skate Canada.
Okay.
No, but they've done it a couple of times. So maybe this is, or maybe they just really like Vancouver and they want to go there. I don't know.
So NHK is Ziegler and Kiefer, Evelyn and Trent, Hayes and Siegert, Ryu and Ricci, Mishina Galyama we see for the first time, Tarasa Morozov, Ashley Kane and Tim Leduc, and Audrey Liu and Misha Mitrofanov. So that's a stacked field. And I mean, we're seeing, potentially the top 2 Russian teams against each other. So that's tough.
Mm-hmm. They could only space out the Russians so much, right? To give everybody 2 events. And we see that within the ladies events as well. It's so tricky trying to stagger these all.
It's definitely an opportunity for a medal for Ashley and Tim. It looked like they would be in there. So, and then France is Vanessa and Eric, Peng and Jin, Wang and Huang, Hamon and Strikolin from France, Artemeva and Nazarchev, Boykova and Kozlovsky, and Alexa and Brandon. So that's.
I see Alexa and Brandon as have a nice potential for a medal there. Yeah. But again, it's going to be like a bronze medal between Eric and Vanessa and them by what I would judge. I guess Peng and Jin are always a wild card. They could totally miss a couple things in a long program, but I'm just expecting both the Chinese teams to kind of like come out like guns blazing this year to try to take 2 spots on the podium at the Olympics. So I have these high hopes for the Chinese teams that might not turn into reality, but I see them really coming out strong on the Grand Prix circuit.
And then Rostelecom is Ziegler and Kiefer, Kirsten and Michael, Hawk and Kunkel, Delamonica and Gorise, Misha and Galyamov, Halvychenko and Moidikin. There's a TBD, and then Audrey and Misha. So it's another, I mean, KMT definitely could be in it for a medal at that event.
But it depends on who that third Russian team is going to be. Yeah. I'm going to say their names wrong, but the team with the girl who can't do the triples, or the team that from junior, they did like the best twists and lifts and throws in the whole world, even in senior, but they struggle with the jumps. He was sick this past season and had some sort of surgery, I believe, but will he be recovered and back? And could they take that TBD spot? Because should they, that's going to be a fairly easy sweep for Russia. If it's not them and it's somebody else with maybe a bit less experience, then that's an opportunity for the Canadians or possibly the Italians to win a medal, depending on what state both of them are in with their performances.
Now for ice dance, the field at Skate America is super stacked. You've got Audrey and Sorensen, you've got Caroline and Shane, you've got Misato and Tim for Japan. The Polish team is there. Annabelle Morozov and Andrei Bagin, Tiffany and Jonathan for Russia, Olivia and Adrian for Spain, Chalk and Bates against Howell and Donahue, and then a TBD. So that is a stacked field. I
wonder if like the Chalk and Bates and Hubble and Donahue wanted to go against each other that early. I wonder if that was a preference that they had, or if the USFSA like did that and then they saw the announcements today and they were shocked. I'd assume that they knew and that maybe that's what their coaches wanted.
5 teams there, so that
yeah, they have a lot of teams at every event.
That's true.
But true. I do wonder if that was something that they want. They just wanted them to go against each other instead of against the French. Yeah. I don't know, but I don't think it's an accident. Out of all the events that you can go to, they're both guaranteed 2 events. So why take them? Like, why not put Chalk and Bates over at Skate Canada and then the Italians to Skate America? Chalk and Bates had a preference to pick their events first before the Italians. Remember that. So they requested Skate America. That tells me that they requested it. I cannot say with certainty, but it tells me that.
And we knew they were definitely not going to be sent to Russia.
That's true.
Yeah.
They're going to NHK, I believe, as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So Skate Canada, it's Piper and Paul, Marjorie and Zach from Canada, Haley and Nicholas. Then you have Lila Fear and Lewis Gibson, Guinard and Fabry. Then the wild card, Diana Davis and Gleb Smolkin got a spot. There's another Russian team, Shanaeva and Nazhirny. I totally butchered that. Olivia Smart and Adria Diaz. So they're going back to back. Christina Carrera and Anthony Ponomarenko, and Green and Parsons. So that is another stacked field.
These back-to-back Skate America, Skate Canada is not that hard because they're both like slightly west. They're only going to be, I believe, a 1-hour time change, a couple-hour flight. So it's not going to be that hard. This is just a really easy win I see for Piper and Paul. The biggest challengers being the Italians that, you know, they used to be really tight competitors with, but now as Piper and Paul have won a world medal, I see that they'll kind of like politically take a little bit more of a step away from them. So I see this as a fairly easy win for Piper and Paul, but super interesting for, again, that mid-pack on where people are going to stack up.
And I think the British team could definitely medal. It'll be interesting to see how Carrera and Ponomarenko do after working with Scott Moyer.
Yes.
What do they look like?
Yeah. Yes. And the Spanish.
I know this is always
they're trying to create momentum against the momentum that the other Spanish team will be trying to create within the other Grand Prix that they're attending.
Yeah.
Cup of China is Caroline and Shane again.
I'm going to turn off my camera for 1 second and I'm going to transition myself to the couch because my phone is charged enough.
How exciting.
We have Chen and Soon, Wang and Liu. There's a TBD spot for China. Loparova and Brissot, Papadakis and Cizeron, Katerina Mueller and Tim Disick, Stepanova and Bukin, Green and Parsons and Hubble and Donahue. That is a tough.
Dave, help me remember, is this the French team maybe I liked so much at Worlds that kind of had a moment in one of the programs? Like, I will be interested to sort of watch them.
Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah. And we have, that's a tough one because for Hubble and Donahue, they have to go against Stepanova and Bukin and Papadakis and Cizeron. So that's
this Stepan, Bukin and Stepanova. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong. For everyone that is going to be upset with my pronunciation. I have terrible pronunciation. I think that now that Nikita and Victoria are world champions, I just see that the Russian Federation is probably going to be like kind of separating Nikita and Victoria from Bukin and Stepanova a little bit more. So I don't really see Bukin and his partner as being threats to those top ranked teams anymore, the way that they used to be when both the Russian teams were close.
And they're always relatively consistent in there to finish. So I mean, Hubble and Donahue definitely can't have any mistakes, but I mean,
they haven't really like I don't want to say improved, because I'm sure they've improved in some ways, but they really haven't taken that next step to their skate. And that's just why they've kind of like hovered around that same result at Worlds, and the other teams have kind of started surpassing them. So I had this conversation about that dance field actually with my friend earlier today, and I was like, I just don't see them being a challenge to the Americans anymore. That's just
NHK is Marjorie and Zach, Wang and Liu, Fear and Gibson. Got Kana Muramoto and Daisuke Takahashi. There's a TBD for Japan. Victoria Sinitsa and Nikita Katsalapov, Hurtado and Kalyavin, Alexander Nazarova and Maxim Nikitin for Ukraine, Chak and Bates, and Hawaii and Baker. That's their first event. So
that's so late for a first event.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But also funny because I'm used to NHK closing. Right? Yeah.
That's
okay.
But a couple, like 10 years ago, NHK used to be slotted here, and then it became the closing one, and now it's back to that.
Okay.
Now, France is Piper and Paul, Valieva and Theron.
See, maybe this was the French team I liked so much from Worlds.
Yeah, that might be. The other one I see on Instagram all the time. So I was
okay.
I can't remember.
Okay.
Papadakis and Cizeron, the TBD for France. There's a German team. Alison Reed is representing Lithuania here. Annabelle Morozov and Andrei Bagin, Stepanova and Bukin, Tiffany and Jonathan, and Carrera and Ponomarenko. So
this is a hard event again, because you have Piper and Paul as the first seed, you have Bukin as the second seed, and then you have Gabby and Guillaume are not seeded, but they're former world champions and Olympic medalists. So this has three very strong teams.
Yeah.
I still think Piper and Paul need to skate well to stay ahead of Bukin. I still see them as being like close challengers. And Piper and Paul sometimes, when the pressure is on, are prone to some mistakes, but I do believe that, you know, they can hold their strength, and because they have an easier Skate Canada, they can likely, even if they were to come third here, they would still make the final.
Yeah, you can't have any mistakes though. This event, because you have Tiffany and Jonathan and Carrera and Ponomarenko right behind. So that's 4 and 5. So that's a tough field. And then Rostelecom, Baudry and Sorensen, the other French team, that name I just butchered before. Kozakova and Reviva, Guinard and Fabry, the Polish team, Sinitsa and Katsalapov, Spakova and Alishin. There's a TBD for Russia, Hurtado and Kalyavin, and Hawaii and Baker. So it's another, depends which Russian team gets the TBD. So
did Terry's team, our daughter, get 2 events or 1 event?
No, she only got 1 event.
Yeah, you named her 1. That's what I thought.
Well, so I was looking at the TBDs for Rostelecom, and I think if Terry is on top of her game, doing well next season, I predict her daughter will get the 2nd spot, and so will Maya Khromykh, who only has 1 event. That's just my prediction.
Maya's so good. Like, I would 100% advocate for her getting that TBD spot, should she have a good summer and fall in other events.
I would imagine that she would be the one.
It's really interesting, you know, like I'm always following these Spanish dance teams and looking at the Rostelecom Cup field, like Sarah Hurtado has a tough go there. I think like the lineups of competitors actually sort of favor Olivia and Adrian, you know?
I believe that happened in the past, I don't know if it was the Olympic season or for Worlds, whereas Olivia and Adrian did have slightly better placements at their Grand Prix, but they still weren't selected.
Yeah.
And I believe that did happen at one point.
Yeah.
It's so tight. Like, oh my goodness, I could not imagine that battle. And always being on the cusp of qualifying a second team, but not qualifying a second team, but like being right there, almost doing it. And oh my goodness.
Yeah, but the field looks tougher for Sarah in both events at NHK in Russia. So
well, going to Russia against 3 Russian teams already.
Exactly.
Coach is Russian, so that helps.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. And there was Julin, aren't they? Yeah, so.
This is true.
Listen, that Spanish judge could be very helpful for, you never know. For the men, came out, definitely Skate America is a stacked field. We've got Nam Nguyen, Mikhail Brugina, Kevin Amos, Adam Sio Him from France, Daniel Grassel, Shun Sato, Shoma Uno, Artur Danilian back from injury, Daniil Samsonov, who we didn't see much of last season, Nathan Chen, Vincent Zhou, and a TBD that could be Yarrow, it could be Torgashev.
I would hope it would be Yarrow.
Or Torgashev. I mean, Torgashev's with Raphael. Maybe he'll be coming out with,
He switched to Raphael now?
last year before Nationals. Yeah.
Wait, before Nationals?
Yes. And
I thought Todd Eldridge was coaching them.
Yarrow.
That's Yarrow.
That's Yarrow.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I was talking about Yarrow. You're talking
Yeah,
about.
I'm hoping it's Yarrow, but Dave is talking about Torgashev.
Ah, okay.
Well, we just haven't seen him since he's with Raphael. Remember, Raphael tells us he needs 2 years with people, and he's had almost a full year with Torgashev. So, I mean, and the Olympics are coming. So, we didn't see him at Nationals last year. Come on, I want to know.
I know he's an amazing skater, and I don't like discredit his talent or his ability, but I have like the worst memory of at a Grand Prix final once. He was in the junior men's event, and I was watching a practice, and that boy was having a rough practice, but he was also having a big temper tantrum on the ice at an ISU Grand Prix final. And that's like my memory of him. So I know he's such
funny when those things get ingrained. Yeah, that's who he is. Yeah.
Performances, and I know people can change, and maybe he's kind of matured, but I have such a vivid memory of that, and I'm like, oh my goodness. It always comes back to me whenever somebody mentions him.
Well, he may throw a temper tantrum when Yarrow is chosen for Skate America. Okay. But that is a deep field.
Yeah.
That is no joke.
Skate Canada,
Well,
you got Keegan against Roman Sadovsky. So it's like the world's spot decision being,
Olympic.
there's a TBD. Marisi Kabadishvili, Keiji Tanaka, Sota Yamamoto, Makar Ignatov, Alexander Samarin, Evgeny Semenenko. This is like the B team of Russia is all coming here. Jason Brown, Nathan Chen, and Tomoki Iwatashi. Tomoki could also get the TBD for Skate America.
That's a tough event. Oh my! The singles in Skate Canada are stacked.
Ignatov also, he was right there with Semenenko. I thought they really could have gone one of two ways when they were picking for the Russian men's team. This is, again, no joke.
I think we need to light candles for Roman Sadovsky and Jason Brown, that they are just feeling artistic and centered.
No, because they could accidentally get buried here.
Those Russian boys have a lot of quads. Okay.
Yeah.
Best performance from them could find them in 7th or 8th. And I love both of them. This is just the reality.
Yeah.
There's a lot of quads.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Cup of China, Yudong Chen, Boyang Jin, Han Yan, Paul Fens, Daniel Grassel, Yuma Kageyama, Kazuki Tomono, Denis Vasiliev, Junhwa Cha, Dmitry Aliev, Peter Gumenik, and Mikhail Kolyada. So it's really Kolyada against Kageyama that you would think would be the kind of the.
Who's the other Russian boy, did you say?
Dmitry Aliev.
Well,
and Boyang Jin. That's a tough field.
Yeah, but
and quite frankly, Daniel Grassel can throw out a big score sometimes if it's
which boy?
The Italian Daniel Grassel. If he starts and has a generous collar, especially for the short, he's suddenly in that mix. Yeah.
Han Yan can get a lot of points too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good field and a very unpredictable, like a lot of skaters that are unpredictable. In the field.
And Peter was another one. Like, I'm intrigued what happens with the men's third spot in well, actually all of the men's spots in Russia outside of Kolyada probably. And so it will be interesting to see like Aliev, Peter, and Kolyada against one another. It's going to be intense. They have some picking to do.
I'm a little bit surprised because I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Grand Prix in China's in Beijing in the Olympic venue.
Now this doesn't list Beijing. This site's a different city.
Okay, so it's the Grand Prix final that's in Beijing at the host venue. Because I was going to say, if it's the host venue, I'm surprised more top skaters didn't choose China.
Yeah, this is a city called Chongqing.
Okay, so not this. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand.
NHK is Nam Nguyen, Mateo Rizzo, Yuzuru Hanyu, Shoma Uno. There's a TBD, Junhwa Cha, Makar Ignatov, Alexander Samarin, Daniil Samsonov, Tomoki Hiwatashi, Camden Polkanen, and Vincent Zoe. Wow, that is the field.
That's another tough one. And when you're looking at the Japanese men's field, like it depends on who they're going to fill the spot with, but they could fill it with a really great skater.
Someone could be third, someone could be ninth at that event, right? Like you don't.
The thing with all these events, like there's just 3 Russians at every event in almost every discipline, not all, but almost, because their fields are just so deep. They just qualified so many people to be selected for the Grand Prix. So when you put 3 Russians in a ladies field, or 3 or 2 Russians in a pairs field, or in dance, or in men's, so the event becomes so strong. And then you have the Japanese also. So you know, it's crazy.
France doesn't have that many ladies, which is why I think that a lot of our ladies who are younger are doing the junior Grand Prix this year. They are going to put some of them that are like Audrey Shin or Lindsay Thorngren. They'll get those points.
The girl, like the Skate America of this year, they're going to go back to the junior Grand Prix for next year.
Yes,
which
exactly.
is weird.
That's right. Yeah.
But Skate America medalist will likely be back on the junior Grand Prix circuit.
Although with perhaps limited entries at that particular Skate America.
Medals against other people that maybe they were expected to beat. So it was.
Yeah, that's crazy. It is just like kind of in theory a little bit strange, but
yeah.
It was a weird year. It was a strange year. So
now France, you have Keegan Messing, Kevin Amos, Adam Sio Himba, TBD for France, Gabrielle.
Frangipani. Now, hold on. He's that Italian junior guy. He's got a bunch of quads coming up too.
Yeah.
He could be like a Rizzo Grossel sort of like wrench in the plan here.
Yeah, 100%.
Then we have Yuma Kageyama, Shun Sato.
Who's my Yuma?
Yes. Denis Vasilyev, Dmitry Aliev, Artur Danilian, Andrei Mozilev, and Jason Brown. This is another one where.
Because we forgot about we didn't, but Danilian was really MIA this season. And the season he left out on before that was really sensational.
He medaled.
Right? Yeah, it's an embarrassment of riches, I think, some of these men's fields. Like, this is nice.
State he's going to be in.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like put him in a slot where it's like, yeah, that's a potential for a medal, but we don't know what he's going to show up like.
I think there will be a lot of skaters in Zagreb the same week as the Grand Prix final, right? That's
interesting. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but Mark from Russia.
Yes, who's so amazing.
Didn't get any Grand Prix, and to me, he's one of the best Russian men.
He had one of the hugest, like, sort of like breakout moments at that team thing. And you're right. Hopefully, he'll get that team for Russia.
Like, he can jump, he can entertain, he has charisma.
Is he young enough that he might be on the junior scene?
I don't believe so. Not now. After all of his six. Just what a weird individual to leave off.
Yeah, that's a strange omission.
In Russian nationals, he's somebody who medal at Grand Prix, and to not assign him one, mystery to me in this Grand Prix announcement today.
No, I believe I probably said that Camden could have gotten the TBD at Skate America. I'm going to correct myself, but there have already been a million comments correcting this. He has two, and I read it. He has NHK in Russia.
Okay.
I read that he had one. Okay, so Rostelecom is Roman Sadovsky, Mikhail Breshna, Marisi Kivishvili, Mateo Rizzo, Yuzuru Hanyu, Kishi Tanaka, Kazuki Tomono, the second, Mikhail Koyada, Semenenko. There's a TBD for Russia, so maybe Mark, who knows?
I hope so.
Yeah, at the very least. Yeah, and even then he still only has the one. It seems sad.
Yeah.
Maxim Naumov and Camden Polkadot. So, yeah.
It really bothers me when somebody really good is kind of left off the circuit, because then I'm like, his chance of making the Olympic team is probably zero. If the federation didn't even think he was worthy of an initial Grand Prix assignment, his likelihood of being named to that Olympic team, even if he's one of the best ones, I mean, it's going to be difficult.
All right, and the ladies.
The ladies. Oh my God! First, they like Gabby didn't get an event first.
So how does that work? I mean,
doesn't have an event, so is she officially done?
Medvedeva, right?
Yeah.
Well, doing Paris this summer in a show, so I'm.
Not the choice you'd make if you really thought you were going for it. Yeah.
Triple diarrhea.
Yeah.
I don't want to say she's done, but
I just assumed her name would be there. Let's just say that. I thought her name would at least be
there. They have so many names that I don't think they can have that luxury this year, because let's say that they gave Medvedeva a spot, right? What if they had to like take off the Terry girls? You can't get rid of them,
but
right?
Sophia has 2 events. Sophia is still getting assigned events and Gabby is not. Like, it just seems funny.
That's true. Sophia does have an event, so.
I believe she has 2. If maybe I'm mistaken, maybe it's just 1. But anyways, she's on the list.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who is Sophia?
Sophia Samadurova.
She is on here?
The former European champion, Dave.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea she was even like still going to be assigned anything. That is a surprise.
Well, remember for how many years Elena Leonova got assigned to Grand Prix?
Oh, I know. Like, and then we'll give you like one good short program throughout the season, though.
I wouldn't be surprised if she's on the list right now.
In those great pants. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Doing the triple toe.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, bless her. I like her skating. There's something endearing.
But here's another thing, like, are we looking at excessive Russian sweeps on these podiums? I know we have Kauri at Skate America, but like
100% I see that.
It's going to be a lot that happens, I think.
All right, so Skate America is Satoko Miyahara, Kaori Sakamoto, Ioana Yokoi, Yekaterina Korokova, Poland, Yilim Kim, Young Yu, and then the Russians are Senya Sinitsina, Alexandra Trusova, and Daria Usacheva. So I think that maybe Kaori, you could get a medal.
Oh, yeah.
You've got Amber Glenn, who's going for that triple axel in both programs, potentially.
Is she? Because she's been going for the triple axel in her programs for a while, and we just haven't really seen it in her programs.
Well, although to be fair, she only really started working on it last season, right? In like an official quality. So then she wasn't given any competitions in which to really try it, I guess.
I mean, I love her. Like I like really was all for her for years.
She would have been like, it would have been so helpful for her in particular, I think, to have had a 4 continents, to have done like sort of these other challenge events, to have sort of
like get that on.
The one at nationals was like, she was showing it in practice better than obviously her attempts in the competition.
Yeah. She needs mileage, so that's why I feel like she needs.
Exactly.
Well, then we've got Tanel, and then there's a TBD spot for the ladies. We'll revisit that TBD spot. You've got
Amber and Brady.
Amber and Brady.
Yeah.
But I think this is going to be a big event for the Korean girls, because we were seeing them do so well at the start of this year, and then they really tanked it sort of at Worlds in a way. So I would think they're all going to come back again, guns blazing, hopefully, for this.
Yeah, Yilim Kim was doing fabulous right up until the last Worlds, and then Young Yu didn't make the team, didn't make the team. It was actually
at nationals, or placed poorly at nationals.
Well, or in one of them, because remember they did this like strange, these 2 competitions back to back, and then that really took a toll on her for sure.
Yeah. But I still don't see either of them skating well enough.
Breaking a top 3, yeah.
Or Kaori. It depends on how Kaori skates. So
I think the medal will be between Yilim Kim, Kaori, Amber, and Brady. I feel like, or Sinitsa. I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I'm not putting any money on it.
But what one of the Russians would you remove for one of them?
Sinitsina.
Okay. Yeah.
We know the least about her this year, right? So
like maybe scores like a 135 instead of a 145 or a 150 in a long program.
We just didn't see a lot of her last season. So who knows? Skate Canada, Emily Bosbach, Maddie Shizas, Alison Schumacher, Wakaba Higuchi, Rika Kihira, Hyan Lee, oh God, this field, Alena Kostornaia, Elizaveta Tuktamisheva, Kamila Valieva, Alexia Paganini, Karen Chen, and Alyssa Liu. Oh man.
This event like blows my mind.
So yeah, I mean, we didn't see
how do you compete in it? Like, how can you even like, it's so overwhelming.
You guys, I might have to go to Skate Canada.
Yeah.
It's Vancouver.
Yeah, which is beautiful. Like,
think about it.
Because
ISU is making her senior Grand Prix debut. She could get buried in that field. The Phil Hirsch article could come out.
I mean, Nisheva could get buried in that field too.
Yes.
And I love her. But I mean, the reality is it's just so hard.
Yeah, that's a tough field.
That should have, the US always leaves the TBDs. And I love that they do that. Russia always leaves a TBD because you never know what, like who's going to show up in the summer or the fall and be really good. Canada just doesn't like to leave the TBDs ever. And it makes me nuts. Why do we have to name everybody right away? Why can't we leave room for that one skater that might appear out of nowhere and be having a spectacular season?
Yeah.
And don't get assigned anything. They lose their opportunities.
Yeah.
Like I don't know like who that would be. But what if Gabby got it together? What if she got it together? There's no opportunity.
Well, it closes the possibility to even prove that she could get it together. Yeah.
Yeah. Goes this summer and just like in whatever competition she goes to or in the fall and beats all these girls so soundly and she's still left with nothing.
Yeah.
The federations had more input this year than others based on how the last years.
Oh, excuse me.
Pleasure.
Sorry.
Well, Cup of China, we've got Lona Hendricks, Yongyi Shen, Shan Lin, Ashley, the skater formerly known as Ashley Lin, Yizhu, Mai Mihara, Satoko Miyahara, Yilim Kim, Ensu Lim, Maya Khromykh, Sofia Samadurova, Anna Sherbakova, and Brady Tunnell. Anna Sherbakova had a broken toe. Of course, the day before.
Oh, is that? I was going to ask.
Lishev told us that she didn't have a broken toe, and then she did. So, but sometimes, remember when Lishev told us that Terry had COVID, and then she
what
a video. He runs the Sambo 70 school.
Is that like your connection at school?
No, he's just like a figurehead, and they love to call him for the media. He was the one that said that, of course, the girls are taking drugs, but only legal ones.
Only legal ones. Okay.
Yeah. Do you remember that article from a couple of years ago? He
no,
said,
I remember.
He said it. The Russian press would pretend today that he didn't say it, but he said it. There's an article about it. It was like
well, and he's the one that blew the lid on Trusova returning, right? And then they called it Terry, and she's like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't do anything with the skating. And then it was announced formally, like
it all depends what time at night they call him on the phone. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
He's always getting in trouble for talking.
Is he like your guy? Like, give me an idea. Like, what am I visualizing when I see this man? Do you even know?
Yes. He's got the grayish hair.
Okay.
Nice home like situation. You know what? I think he's in the video when they celebrated the anniversary of Sambo 70 and Medvedev first came back and like she was like raising the flag for them. I think they could see a video.
Okay. I'll go creep around and look on social media.
The NHK trophy is Olga Nukatina, Nicole Schott, Rika Kihira, Kaori Sakamoto. There's a TBD for Japan. And Su Lim, Seo Young Wee, Young Yu, Trusova, Usacheva, Amber Glenn, and Alyssa Liu. That's another.
Yeah, this will be the only non-Russian sweep because there's only 2 Russian women in it.
Yeah, so I see like a medal opportunity for one of the Americans or for the Koreans, the Korean skater.
I would think Kaori has it.
Kaori, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Rika.
Or Rika. It's so funny because also in Japan, I think like Rika, despite her faltering, and Kaori have delivered such consistent quality. So I think there's a fun battle that's going to unfold here with Wakaba. Fortunately, Megan, you knew exactly what was going to happen to Satoko before Worlds, and I just refused to believe it. But I think we know that maybe isn't happening. But also, Mai Mihara could come back and do.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, we sometimes we have seen her, and she has been a factor, and sometimes less so in recent years. But she does seem to be getting more and more consistent with getting higher scores from the Japanese Federation. So I'm really intrigued, again, with that 3rd Japanese lady spot.
She's one of my favorites.
Mai Mihara. Well, when she was doing that triple toe twice program, I was like, that's what I would do if I got it.
Her short, I believe, was a triple flip. And she was so good. And I feel like she was so underscored and undervalued for years.
Yeah.
And then I believe she got sick and then she wasn't skating and now she's coming back. And yeah, I really loved her. I haven't seen her.
Each time we see her, she gets progressively better. I think she could be as much a factor, but let's see if Wakaba has the triple axel under control, because I'm sure will be her goal, for the whole Grand Prix. But
I wouldn't be surprised to see Kaori come out trying one of those big elements this year. I think that she's more than capable of doing a triple axel.
So solid at the end of last season. Do you know what I mean? It seemed like she was in prime opportunity to grow. Yeah.
And then for Rostelecom, also just to bring up, Rika here, I believe, had a back injury at the end of last year. So she's had some time to rest it and rehab. We could be seeing competitive Rika at these events.
True.
So with Rostelecom, we've got,
I'm
sorry?
is she still with Stefan?
I don't think so. I think she
Like,
was
Skating was with her at Worlds and
yeah, I don't know. And she was supposed to go to the cricket club, but then they were, not allowing skaters in the country, but who knows what will happen now.
yeah, because I see that a lot of Lambiel skaters have been leaving him. So I just didn't know what her status was.
Well, but yeah, she had said she was going to the cricket club, and it was a collaboration that definitely, as an outsider, interested me very much. I was intrigued to see what they could do for her, but it sounds like that won't happen at all now.
Well, right now, it's so hard. Like our government is still really strict with our regulations of coming into the country.
Well, she could go later because isn't Ghislaine in Japan or supposed to go to Japan? So maybe he would go to Japan.
Yuzuru?
I think for Yuzu, but also for Mia Hamada skaters.
Okay.
So if he was over there working with them, potentially working with Rika, maybe she would go back to the cricket club for the fall.
I feel like she was looking for, the complete cricket club experience. So I don't know if Ghislaine alone is gonna.
If she likes Ghislaine and Ghislaine, he's helping her jumps and, squeak up.
He's like Tracy.
That's what
We all need a little bit of Tracy.
Yeah, because again, and we were trying to sort of get at this, Dave, when we were doing the recap, is Rika has often been poised to have a moment and then is unable to sort of follow through. So I was always curious, again, as a non-technician, I was like, is this a technical limitation she experiences in the moment? Or does she need someone like a Tracy to sort of center her in a different way at certain moments?
You love to bring up how slow she is, so maybe Tracy's edge class could help her.
That as well. Both those things. That's why she needs Tracy.
Yeah.
All the reasons why. Sorry, continue with your Rostelecom Cup. That's what you were about to.
Rostelecom is Olga Mikutina, Yekaterina Ryabova from Azerbaijan. She was an angel of Pushenka 2 years ago. She had a pretty good Europeans. Lona Hendricks, Maddie Shizas, Eva Lotakivas from Estonia, Rino Matsuiki from Japan, Tursunbayeva from Kazakhstan on the list, Kurakova, Tuktamisheva, Valieva, a TBD, which I imagine is Maya Khromykh, and Mariah.
And who's the last one?
Mariah Bell.
Mariah Bell. That's a tough one for her.
And
Like-
Lena, if Lena Hendricks was going to try to like sort of like make a move solidly into the top 10 here, she's facing some really tough fields.
Yeah.
Well, less
Like-
so in China, but definitely in Russia, she has a tough, because also Olga Mikutina, everybody's Austrian hometown hero, she sort of had a little moment at Worlds. And so I wonder if she's going to ride some of that Russian wave at Rostelecom. So
Maybe it's a great opportunity if you're one of these girls and you think, I have no chance of making the final. Let's just go out with no pressure, right? Like,
Well, I talked to Maddie today because I skate at the rink where she trains, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I got like the hardest event ever. I'm going to Russia and I'm against Valieva. Sorry, I can't pronounce her name again.
Valieva, yeah.
Like your first time on the Grand Prix," and she was like, "Yeah, I'm really excited. Like, it is what it is. It's going to be fun." So I think that she sees it like that. Somebody like Leona, like she should be a skater that's like on the verge of winning medals at a Grand Prix. You know, like that's kind of where she's at. But then to be going to events that are this hard, it's just difficult. And not only are they this stacked and this hard, they're in Russia on top of that. So tough break for her.
Yeah.
And tough break for Mariah Bell, because she's another skater also that should be winning medals. Is capable of
if
winning.
you think that Mariah Bell maybe chose to do France and Russia at the end because the Skate Canada is so stacked, and even Skate America is quite stacked.
Yeah.
Have known that, or like, did she get secret information and know that, or did Raph?
Well, he does.
Well, or is there a reason they just want her as late in the schedule as possible? I mean, she's the last two events.
Well, the Federation could have potentially known that, right? They could have known and tried to finagle. I mean, not that any of these fields are easy. So
Yeah.
Like, which one would you choose? Like,
China.
China.
China's kind of easier in all the disciplines except for dance. They have 3 good dance teams.
China is always the easiest of the events. It's,
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
That's where Hendricks could make a move.
And
for-
China's where weird, Cup of China, weird things happen. Like, remember, like, I'll never, ever forget, and I'm sure he's a very nice person, but he was the president of the USFSA. Sam,
here.
yeah, he was judging at Cup of China once, and he gave Boyan Jin higher skating skills than Patrick Chen. He gave Boyan Jin higher skating skills than, like, weird things happen at Cup of China.
Yes.
Weird things happen with the skating, weird things happen with the judging.
As an American, maybe he saw something the rest of us didn't. I don't know. Maybe
You know, a lot of things that the rest of us didn't see.
maybe there was smog that got in his eye, and he just, I don't know.
Like, my eyes jumped out of my head when I saw that judging sheet that day. I was like, what? How is this even possible?
Oh my gosh.
But it
Wasn't Cup of China the event when Carolina Kostner showed up before
Yes.
Sochi, when maybe I lit a candle for her?
You first lit the candle after her Cup of China reference or her competition. Yeah.
And I believe that's where we saw the legend Pogorilaya, for the first time. So
Mhm.
isn't that where somebody didn't go to the medal ceremony as well?
oh yes,
Who
yes.
came in and didn't go to the medal ceremony?
Yes, but wasn't there I do remember this. I remember, of course, Hanyu in the collision
Yeah,
in that
There-
one.
collisions at Cup of China.
Yeah.
But who was the Russian skater that didn't? Was
I
it
thought
Anna?
it was a single female skater.
Was it Pogo? Or Lipnitskaya?
No, it was Radionova. I think it was Radionova.
I don't know, but like, we're gonna have to look into this.
Full
Okay.
on diva, right? Who didn't go? It was one of
And
our.
also, that's the one where they just pull on a car sometimes. Like, there's just like a car in the Kiss and Cry.
Listen,
Like,
it is
it's sponsored by Audi or something.
Oh,
of
really?
events. Yes.
They give prizes at the banquet. I went to Cup of China once. They give prizes at the banquet, or they used to, anyways.
Did you win a car?
No, I didn't win anything. I
Okay.
never.
Okay.
Like,
Whenever I was like at NHK or China, and they were giving like those prizes at banquets, I never won any of it.
Okay.
well, Megan, if you're skating again, you were showing off yesterday on Instagram. Is the Stars
I
on Ice Tour a go? When do you and Dylan
Sure.
Moss?
I can triple sow. I can do one jump. I'm waiting for Dylan. He's with his fiance in Europe. She's going to Wimbledon, right? She's at Wimbledon right now. She's a tennis player. She's going to the Olympics with Team Canada, and he's going to come back here once Wimbledon's done, and we can start skating together.
Nice.
Have you
I'm
heard
still
from
growing
Chris
myself.
Bruno Matteo is on the market. I mean, there are lots of options. If Dylan's
Who else is on the market? Who did you say?
Bruno Matteo, right?
I know. Yeah, I did. I messaged him and I was like, if you ever want to do a show, I'm available. And then he said that would be fun. But yeah, I did. I was like, well, I know that he still liked doing shows. I don't think that he was wanting to stop those.
Right.
But yeah, like the missing people on the Grand Prix circuit is a very interesting list. Did these skaters choose not to be part of it, or did the federation choose not to include them? Like we have Gabby in Canada, we have Alena and TJ with the US, we have Mark with Russia. You know, there's a couple of them.
Brian and Jessica. Yeah.
Brian as well. Yeah, forgot
Yeah.
about that.
So Canada, the confusing thing is, if Gabby Dellman was just at the World Team Trophy, why wouldn't they push for her to get a spot?
She would have a score high enough because 2 years ago, the last time there was a world championship just before this year, so 2019, she was placed high enough to qualify 2 ladies.
Yeah.
So for standing is somewhere high enough to get a Grand Prix if Dan Lilin from Russia is getting 2 events.
Right.
So either she chose not to, or Skate Canada didn't name her in their selection package that they sent to the ISU. Skate Canada sends, like each federation sends a list of names to the ISU to be chosen for Grand Prix. That's why new teams have to be formed before a certain date so that their names are on those lists. So is this her doing? Is it the federation's doing? It's the same thing with the USFSA. Is it Brian and Jessica who didn't want to, or the USFSA just didn't include them? Because for sure they'd be also guaranteed 1 event, if not 2.
Right.
Because their success the last time there was a real season. It's very interesting.
And then who at the ISU, like, who is comprised of that? Like, if let's say a bunch of countries are coming to the ISU about their Skate America possibilities, is it the USFS with ISU that's picking that? Is it the ISU just officials? Or I was always intrigued, like, who it actually boils down to.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea who, like, apparently they all sit at a table. Who is it that sits at this table?
Right, yeah. Because don't we think that,
deals? I'll take this person, you take this person. Let's help me here. Let's help me here.
because doesn't the presenting country get a say for a lot of this? Like you were saying, like Skate Canada, for instance, was like choosing to take headliners when they technically didn't have to if they were trying to be more protective of their own skaters' standards.
Or that the skaters, like these top seeded skaters, are always wanting Skate Canada.
Hmm.
And that's their, like, that's what their request is. I don't like, no one's ever explained to me the inner workings of how exactly it works.
I feel like Dave is making a face like he does know something.
Do you know?
No, I don't. I am just thinking like,
Oh,
there are so many potentially things that we need to dodge here to not like get
okay.
Do we have a moment to talk about Dave's performance at his adult national championships?
sure. Okay. Thank you. When are you competing at adult nationals, Megan?
Whenever I'm allowed. How long do I have to wait? Like, I'm
Call
itching.
Midori Ito and ask. What
There
the-
is a time period that I have to wait. I know that.
I know.
I want to do it. Like, I love it.
Yes. So I was talking to
Well,
someone.
compete as a pair skater at adult nationals.
Yeah, they're adult pairs.
Or Death Spiral. He's not even a pair skater.
So there's a
I love it. How?
I know a woman who competed against Midori Ito at the World Games, and they went like head to head. And Midori Ito went for double axel. So yes, it is quite.
It's intense. I'm sure. I saw somebody try a triple toe on a video you posted.
Yes.
But like, how your experience? Were you nervous?
Yeah, I was nervous, but I felt pretty good. I skated well the entire time I was there, so I felt pretty good. And at the end, like I felt good and I felt like I'm ready to start practicing for next year. I took this week off and I actually feel like, oh, what am I going to do with all my time? What am I doing? But I felt tired afterwards. So,
Like emotional letdown.
yes, because I didn't have a lot of time to get ready before, especially because like I'd hurt my ankle and stuff that happened again. Like, so I felt like I really like pushed to get ready really fast. And I felt like every day I was either like skating and then going to PT, or skating and going to chiropractor, skating and going, you know, to get a massage, skating and doing, you know, it was like a lot of stuff going on. Or sometimes I'd be skating twice a day because I'd be trying to get a spin lesson in the morning and then try to, you know.
So you were like a real professional skater.
Yes. So
Yeah.
with working, you know, so I was skating 5 days a week and then fitting everything in, and now I just feel tired.
Was your like, did she tell you that you did great? Was Galina happy?
So like at first, yes.
Okay. Was she there?
No, she was messaging me from home. Kristen Fraser went with me.
Okay.
Then like I sent her the video and she didn't respond, and I was like, oh shit. And so I waited until I was like back at my hotel to call her, and she was like, you know, congratulations. And then I was like, did you see the video? And she's like, yes, we'll talk about it later. And I was like, and then she's like, well, and I said, no, we can talk about it. She's like, well, what do you think could have been better? And I told her what I thought could have been better. And she's like, you absolutely right. So it's like, okay. But I did like 75 to 80% of what I was doing in my practice for not competing in like 7 years. I was like, all right, you know, I'll take it. And then I'm going to compete a lot more next year. So
when, like, can you compete again next? Like, when's the next adult competition?
well, I'm going to move up to I competed in bronze. I'm going to move up to silver. So silver has 5 jumping passes, bronze has 4. I'm going to work to get my axel and my double sow going this summer and improve my spins. So I'm aiming to start like competing again for like January, February to start like doing more competitions. So I want to take this time to really like work on improving over the next, you know, 6 months and get a new program and put it together earlier so that I'm not like in a crunch. So.
Oh, but you have to reuse your nice costume.
Well, yes, I might use it for an artistic program. So
definitely need to make use of that, because there's nothing worse than beautiful costumes sitting in the closet collecting.
Wear it again, but like I want to improve a bunch of stuff. So I want to get like work on like my turns and my skating skills and stuff like that, and then push it. I thought about maybe like trying to do dance, but I think, you know, realities of time to come into it. But when you're in the event and like people are doing multiple events, then it's like, you know, I was done. So I didn't have a reason to stay. And then I was home and I was like wishing that I was like watching everyone else compete still. So
yeah,
played friends in the other events.
Like dance in pairs and singles and everything at adult world or at adult competitions.
So yeah, like I just think it would be a beneficial thing, especially like to get more competition experience, to go out there. Like I'm not gonna be like these ladies that do the solo dance, like this is their event. Like they practice this for years, you know, they know these patterns. So I would definitely be, you know, at the bottom of the list, but it would, you know, potentially help my skating skills and help competition experience. So that would be what to do it. So
well, it would be fun to keep trying to improve yourself in that area.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. So
yeah, competition. Are you going to be on TV again soon, Jonathan?
I mean, aren't I always? They still only now they just show me on PBS and like old opera reruns. That's what like everyone started doing during the pandemic. You get these like nice emails from all these opera companies. Like the Met always emails me. They're like, we're showing your thing again. And remember, you signed that thing that after this many years, we don't pay you every time we rebroadcast it.
Oh, no.
Be sure to tune in. Yeah, you like, okay, thanks. Whatever.
How did you land those gigs on the Food Network? Like, how do you do?
The Food Network one came because someone watched the skating lesson and they wanted Dave and I to do it together.
And you didn't want to, Dave?
Okay, so I would have had to take unpaid leave from work to do it. And you don't know. So it was hard. Like I was working in a department and they told us that it could be in March or in May. Now, March would be during Worlds. May is, you know, would have been preferable. But I think Jonathan filmed it in March. And
Yeah, because it's like so last minute, that TV stuff. So it had worked out like just perfectly between 2 opera gigs that I had. So, but like Dave was like, I have a life. You have to like give me the details. Like, but they don't know them until so late. Even when I did the House Hunter stuff, like it was like a week before they were like, do you want to film this stuff?
Oh my God.
they also were telling us during Christmas time, like I remember like Christmas shopping going on between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and like this is when they were asking all of the stuff, and there was just a lot going on. I was like, this is a lot to think about, and it was a tough time during the year. So yeah, I mean, it would have been fun, but yeah, it's just tough, like logistically to do it. So
I can see that.
So there it is.
Well, so many things.
I
Yes.
know. And all your classes. I see all your classes online, Megan, and I'm like, geez, I could never do that. Could never.
Well, people still like, I can't believe I'm still doing it all this time later, but people still want them. And I have some contracts with clubs. I had a class with a skating club in Edmonton before this. Yeah, so I've been super busy doing that, and it's really fun. Tomorrow morning, I have a 5 a.m. class with some skaters in Australia.
okay.
Yeah, I set my alarm at like 4:45, and then I roll out of bed.
Okay.
That's tough. Yeah,
That's
but it's
a tough time change. Yeah.
I love it. I love working with all these skaters. And now I started asking them if they'd send me skating videos, because I work with a lot of people and I don't know what they skate like. But I've been watching them move and work out on Zoom for a year and a half or a year and a couple months. So I'm like, well, these people send me videos, and I love to see and like just compare the way that their body moves off the ice, the way that it does on the ice. And yeah, sometimes it doesn't always match up to what I thought it was going to be, but it's really interesting. I love it.
Interesting. Well, I am sure we'll be asking your opinion in the coming months about what is happening at all of these Grand Prix events. So thank you so much for coming on.
Are you going to Skate Canada, Megan? Do you know?
Well, I'm going to be on tour, and we're performing in Vancouver on the 27th of October, and Skate Canada starts tonight.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I mean, I'll probably stay.
You have to see your girl Tutberidze, but in person. Come on.
Oh, I would love to. I don't see why I wouldn't stay. So it just depends on what's happening in my life at that time, and like if I can get a ticket.
Yeah, I may do Skate America and Skate Canada. I've never done a Skate Canada, but this is like such a lineup.
Well, think about how many triple axels will be at Skate Canada and the ladies. You've got
I know. Jump up and down every time somebody does one, and we'll be so excited.
Rika.
Well, we should go together then. We should all go together.
Maybe.
See you there.
Vancouver.
Look sexy, everyone.
Bye.